They were about to drown. Jesus was asleep in the boat. When they woke him, he didn't calm the storm, he calmed them. And then the storm just stopped. The crowds kept growing day after day. On Sabbath, Jesus slipped away to the hills for solitude. But by Sunday morning, they were back. After Peter preached and Jesus spoke to them, he turned to his apostles with weariness in his voice. "I am tired of the throngs. Let's cross to the other side and rest for a day." So they set out across the Sea of Galilee. Jesus so exhausted that he curled up in the stern under a small shelter and fell fast asleep. But the Sea of Galilee is a treacherous body of water, almost 700 feet below sea level, surrounded by high banks and steep gorges. As evening came, the cooling air rushed down those gorges and slammed into the lake with violent force. A sudden ferocious windstorm engulfed them. These were experienced fishermen, but this gale was one of the worst they had ever faced. The wind shredded their sail before they could furl it. Waves crashed over the sides, filling the boat. They pulled on the oars with all their strength, fighting for the shore more than a mile away. 3 other boats carrying younger evangelists trailed behind, struggling just as desperately. And through it all, Jesus slept. Peter was at the rear or near the stern. When the boat began to sink beneath them, he dropped his oar, rushed over, and shook Jesus violently. "Master, don't you know we're in a violent storm? If you don't save us, we'll all perish." Jesus awoke to the chaos, rain lashing, wind howling, disciples straining at the oars. He looked at Peter, then peered into the darkness at the others. Turning back to Peter, who in his panic had abandoned his oar, Jesus said quietly, "Why are you all so filled with fear? Where is your faith? Peace, be quiet." He was not commanding the wind and waves. He was calming his disciples' terror-stricken hearts. And then, purely by coincidence, as far as we can judge, the storm spent itself. The wind died, the waves subsided. The clouds vanished, and stars appeared overhead. But the apostles never saw it that way. In their minds, Jesus had rebuked the storm itself. They believed all nature was directly controlled by spirits and supernatural forces. So it was easy, inevitable, even, to interpret what happened as a nature miracle. Peter would retell this story for the rest of his life, always adding, "Even the winds and the waves obey him." Jesus tried to explain that he had only spoken to their troubled spirits, that he had not commanded the elements. It was no use. They had made up their minds. They reached the shore late that night, but stayed in the boats until sunrise, resting in the sudden calm. In the morning, Jesus gathered them, about 40 in all, and said, "Let us go up into the hills and spend a few days pondering the problems of the Father's kingdom." Was it a miracle or a coincidence? What do you think really happened that night on the sea? Comment your take below. And tag someone who needs to hear that sometimes the storm calms when we find peace. Appreciate you for walking with me today. Take good care always, and God bless.